Here's the cold, hard truth. American capitalism, once the engine of global growth, has turned into a quagmire of debt, inequality, and collective denial. We built an empire on rising real wages, but for nearly 50 years now, paychecks haven't budged. How did working families go from steady prosperity to drowning in credit card bills and mortgage traps? Denial has become our national pastime. Politicians, corporate CEOs, and talking heads all pretend the cracks aren't spreading. It's time to break the silence, face this crisis head-on, and demand answers from those in power. 1970 marked the end of a century of sustained prosperity for America's working class. From 1870 until then, real wages climbed every decade, but starting that year, they flatlined forever. 1978 was the last time an average worker could buy in today's dollars what they could in 1970. Since then, purchasing power has cratered by 0% in a decade of disillusionment. Then came 2008, the great financial crisis that wiped out the last of our savings. Government-backed mortgages became fodder for bank collapses and unconscionable bailouts with no strings attached. Today, over 40% of American households are trapped under credit card debt, student loans, and auto loans, even as prices climb at twice the pace of wages. This denial isn't a one-off glitch, it's the very logic of a system that refuses any self-critique. Politicians from both parties, Wall Street technocrats, and media gurus keep chanting recovery's right around the corner, even though the data blows that fairy tale apart. Between 1980 and 2020, the top 0.1% saw their wealth balloon by 400%, while the median family lost over 10% of its real net worth. How do the self-proclaimed champions of social mobility explain this chasm? With evasive jargon and accounting tricks? They twist the books, cheer on corporate tax cuts that funnel trillions to the rich, and slap a necessary adjustment label on every interest rate hike that tosses thousands out of their homes. But this story of widening inequality has been written in history long before our time. In 1812, the British Crown tried to reinvade the very colonies that broke free in 1776 and lost, sealing the fate of an empire. In 1918, at the end of World War I, Germany's savings were vaporized by hyperinflation. 6 marks to the dollar became 4 trillion in mere months, paving the way for a demagogue's rise. Today, the United States is tracing the same imperial decline, clinging to past glories while its Seventh Fleet prowls foreign seas and Wall Street bailouts outstrip public health spending year after year. Have you heard any credible explanation for China's leap from the world's 10th largest economy in 1978 to nearly $17.5 trillion today, just shy of America's $21 trillion? Or for Russia's $1.5 trillion GDP, so far from any superpower status, yet still framed as an existential threat? Every sanction, tariff, and trade war declaration has failed to change the facts. China's growth only eased to 6% annually, while here we debate whether shaving a couple points off inflation is a victory. The human cost of this decline is undeniable. Marriage is torn apart by 2 low-wage jobs, kids dropping out of college because they can't shoulder the debt, women popping anti-anxiety meds at the highest rates on earth just to survive the double shift. Our social fabric unravels in divorces, addictions, and generational despair. A Gallup poll shows most Americans under 35 would now choose socialism, not out of conviction, but out of sheer exhaustion with a capitalism that sold them infinite skies and delivered quicksand. And yet we stay silent. We applaud laws that hand tax relief to the wealthy, cheer austerity measures for 99% and unlimited spending for 1%. We let reform become the euphemism for gutting pensions and investment stimulus the cover for privatizing life-essential services. We stitch together false divisions, immigrants versus real Americans, cultural elites versus good folks, left versus right, to hide the truth. The real enemy is a system that concentrates power and wealth in too few hands. How long will we legitimize this web of collective denial? How many more democratic institutions will bend to private profit before we say enough? Truth is uncomfortable, but worse is its omission. Every concession to silence erodes citizen trust, undermines the social contract, and chips away at any notion of common good. The time has come to demand real transparency, to call public debates with clear data and accountability, to reclaim outrage as a political force. Because as long as we believe savage capitalism is our only path, we'll keep marching toward the same historical abyss that swallowed so many civilizations before ours. The call is out. Resist the lie, confront this crisis with intellectual courage, and redefine our social project together before the system crushes our institutions and our lives.